Welcome to Pankinen Financial Perspective with Ashton Pankinen from Pankinen Financial Group. Planning for your financial future means navigating challenges like market volatility, inflation, and retirement income. Pankinen Financial Perspective is here to help by addressing common financial concerns, sharing valuable strategies, and exploring ways you can work toward your financial goals. Now let's get started with Pankinen Financial Perspective.
Hello, and welcome to the Pankinen Financial Perspective. My name is Ashton Pankinen from Pankinen Financial Group. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, give us a call at 952-873-2703 or visit us online at pankinenfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com. And while at my website, click on the radio page to check out past shows or to subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Also, while at my page, click the link at the top to get the latest retirement guide. We believe it's one of the most common questions in retirement planning. Do I have enough money to maintain my lifestyle and not run out of money during retirement? Interestingly, our experience in this question comes with whether a person it's asking has $100,000 or $1 million or even $5 million saved. And while it may be a perfectly sensible question, we think the most accurate answer is, it depends. Of course, it's not exactly a comforting response. So during the show today, we're going to explore a question of how much money is enough for retirement from a few different angles. But before we dive in, let me introduce our co-host, Tony Shore, undeniably this show's most valuable asset.
I don't know about that. I mean, flattery will get you everywhere. So keep it coming. But talking about how to truly enjoy your retirement.
Yeah.
How can we do this? Where do you want to begin?
Yeah, let's start a conversation, Tony, with the article Kiplinger had wrote. I thought I'd be set, but my $3 million isn't buying the retirement I imagined. What should I do? Which I found both fascinating and important. Again, it begins with that simple question. What do I do, or what should I do with this? And so at first glance, you might be thinking, really, $3 million? That sounds like more than enough.
Yeah, sounds like more than enough to me.
And statistically speaking, it is. But the article points out that the average 401k balance for Americans 65 and older is just around $300,000. And the median, which might give a better picture, is just over $95,000.
Wow.
And so, if you've saved the $3 million, you're way ahead of the pack. But that said, you're still feeling unsure, uneasy, or even disappointed about your retirement savings and what it's allowing you to actually do. And you're not alone, and you're not crazy, Tony. It's very common for people to feel that way. And part of it's the rising cost, whether it's rising cost of travel, healthcare, or just everyday living. Mm-hmm. There's that emotional side of spending down your nest egg that's kind of holding you back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
for sure.
And so it's normal to feel that disconnect, Tony. And so, more than often than not, clients tell me, I know I should feel more confident, but I'm still anxious. Even if they've done a good job building that nest egg, I do have the money, but I'm afraid to spend it. And retirement doesn't feel like I thought it would. And so that's why we're tackling this topic head on. We want to make sure we reconnect your retirement goals and your money so you can feel empowered to enjoy the lifestyle you've worked so hard to build.
Yeah, and I think that's important.
Well, I just think we should be building a nest egg.
I mean, even Marge Simpson thinks it's a good idea, and it sounds a little stressed there that they're not building enough of a nest egg. But what I find funny about that, and I know why you told that story, is, a lot of people, you see the articles, you need $1.2 million in order to retire comfortably, or you need some amount that's a rule of thumb amount for everyone. And that doesn't exist.
No.
But what's funny, and you've told me this before when we've talked, Ashton, is that you'll have clients coming to you, and it doesn't matter if they have $90,000, like the median saved for retirement, or they have $5 million. They're worried about running out of money. And that's what I find, no matter how much or how little they have, they're worried about it. So, and rightfully so. What you're saying though is, yeah, I mean, you don't want to be stressed over it. You just need a plan in place, and you need to make sure you're saving enough. So, if you have less than $100,000 and you're of a certain age, you're going to have to kick it down. So you're going to have to figure out a plan. And if you have $3 million, and you're ready to buy a boat and a custom RV, and you're going to take your 16 grandkids to Disney World, and you're going to travel the world, you're going to need a plan, and you're going to need the more money you have, the more important your tax planning will be too. So, yeah.
So it's important to have that strategy in place regardless of that dollar amount saved. And again, it's something we see all the time, whether you're, again, that have that 100,000, or if you have that 5 million, 3 million, it's still a concern of, am I going to run out of money? That's always a big question.
Yeah.
So, and, let's start on something simple but powerful, taking a fresh look at your expenses. So now if your retirement lifestyle you dreamed about isn't exactly lining up with what your portfolio is supporting, don't worry. That is a common experience, and it doesn't mean you failed. It just means you might have to make a few thoughtful adjustments to those expenses. And again, a little flexibility can go a long way. We don't want to try and make drastic changes, but even if we can just change our spending by 3 to 5%, it may not sound like much, but it does make a big difference in that overall retirement strategy, and can make it more sustainable to last your entire retirement. And so again, good spot to start is that discretionary expenses. Could we maybe gift a little bit less to the grandkids, or, give a little less to the grandkids, gift giving, hold off on some bigger home improvements projects, or, spread them out instead of doing them all at once. And again, take a look at your monthly expenses too, your regular monthly expenses, and just see if there's any extra breathing room you might be able to create. And just remember that reassessing your spending isn't about giving up things. It's about gaining more confidence, more clarity, and more financial peace of mind as you go through those retirement years.
Right. So how can meeting with somebody like yourself, a financial services professional, help somebody out there reassess their expenses?
Yeah, meeting with a financial advisor can help make the difference when it comes to reassessing your expenses, especially in retirement. It's easy to lose track of where your money is going, or to feel unsure about what adjustments might be smart or sustainable. And so again, we can provide some outside perspective, helping you take a clear, honest look at your spending habits, identifying potential opportunities to help reduce that cost. I actually just had a conversation with a client this week on, hey, I want to go buy a new vehicle. Well, do you really need the brand new vehicle? If we can buy that 3-year-old vehicle, let somebody else take some of that depreciation. Again, you're still getting that need taken care of having a vehicle to get you around a good vehicle, but is it a way to make our retirement more sustainable for us? And so we can walk through strategies like that, ways to cut some of those discretionary expenses. But most importantly, we'll help you build a spending plan that supports your lifestyle and your long-term financial confidence, so that you can focus on, you don't want to have to worry about your retirement income, and you can actually enjoy your retirement.
Yeah. Well, and that's the key. That's what we're talking about today. So if somebody wants to get a second opinion to make sure they're where they need to be, or get a plan in place, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, the best way, Tony, to reach out to our office, just give us a call at 952-873-2703. Again, that number is 952-873-2703. You can visit us on our website, pankoninfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com. Check out our past shows, sign up for our newsletter, our most recent retirement guide, or again, our contact information is on there as well.
Excellent. And, you've been talking to us today about how common it is to feel anxious about how much you have saved for retirement, whether your savings are modest or substantial. And after all, it's human nature to worry about money. And whether you'll have enough, not just to maintain your lifestyle, but to truly enjoy your retirement. So What's next on this? What do you have that might help us out?
Yeah. And so, again, in the article, they talk about some ways to maybe get more comfortable with spending in retirement. Let's be honest, unless you're aiming for over the top lifestyle, that 3 million is a solid nest egg, but it may not feel like enough still. And again, you're not alone in this. We see this all the time. People do a great job saving for retirement, but now it's time to start spending that money, and they feel nervous about it. And it makes sense because you've been in that saver mode your whole life to get you to that point, to build up that big nest egg. And so it's really hard to just turn on that spend and enjoy. That can be a really tough mentality for individuals. And again, I get it. My best clients are the savers. And so it's really hard to just turn that switch on to spenders there.
Yeah, you can't take it with you.
Yeah, exactly. And so one way to reframe it is you've saved all those years, not to hoard wealth, but to give yourself permission to enjoy retirement.
There you go.
So again, this is where working with a financial professional may make all the difference. We can help you figure out appropriate withdrawal rate, so you know your spending is grounded and it's a solid strategy. And sometimes we can start small. Maybe initially in those first 6 to 12 months of retirement, we start taking some withdrawals just to see, if you're ready to spend that much or not. And that way your lifestyle can grow to a comfort level that you're good with and makes you feel good. Another helpful approach is a lot of times I'll send out retirement paychecks. You're used to getting paid your whole life when you're working. So we set up a monthly withdrawal, whether that be from an investment account, an annuity, and it's steady, predictable income, just like when you were working. And that way, again, you can feel confident that, hey, we're going to be able to cover our monthly expenses. And then we can set up another bucket for maybe more fun money, like vacations, hobbies, second home. And again, this kind of structure can help take some of that fear out of spending. And more importantly, it may help give you the permission to live the retirement that you worked so hard for.
Exactly. And this is great information. It really crystallizes why working with someone like yourself, a financial services professional, can be so beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah. And, again, we want to talk about something that doesn't always get enough attention when we think about retirement planning. And it's actually going after your goals and enjoying the life you worked so hard to build. We believe it's completely normal to worry about running out of money in retirement. That's usually people's number one fear, other than dying, I guess, is running out of money in retirement. But it's also sometimes guilt that holds them back. They've saved diligently for years, maybe even decades, and now it's time to enjoy it, and they feel bad about spending it. And so, there's a couple of great stories out there. I've seen clients who, had the money to buy a boat, but just couldn't shake the guilt of it. We ran the numbers 6 different ways, and in the end, that wasn't enough to give them financial peace. It wasn't the math, it was the mind shift. I've earned this. You've earned this. You've worked so hard to save for this. You've earned the right to go out and buy that boat. And 10 years later, that boat is still one of the best decisions he's ever made. And so, I get it. You want to leave a legacy for your family, keep plenty in reserve set aside for future healthcare needs. And those are important goals, but an appropriate strategy can help do both. You can both protect your future and enjoy your present retirement. Because again, retirement's not just about preserving capital, Tony. It's about using it with purpose, with confidence, and with joy.
Yeah. And that's what's important. When you've got a plan in place, you've got permission not just to spend, but to live as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And so, and I read another clipping or article here. Are you a retirement millionaire too afraid to spend? It goes into more detail about the same topic we've been talking about, the instinct to save and the flexibility to spend. And so it's common to feel nervous about this spending. It talks about how hard it can be to break old budgeting habits. How being overly frugal can sometimes hold you back from enjoying the retirement you've earned. And so, there's some reminders when it comes to balancing saving and spending. And it starts with one of the most important things, and that's your own mindset. And so, again, we spend these decades saving for retirement. And then, we got to shift from that saver to spender. And again, the whole point of saving is to be able to use those funds when you're no longer working. And so you want to ask yourself, what am I saving for beyond just financial security? If your needs are covered and there's money left over, where can that extra go? And so maybe it's finally checking off that bucket list trip, helping a grandchild buy their first home. Yeah. And maybe it's giving back to charity or other causes that matter deeply to you. But money in the bank does have meaning. It's connected to something. So consider not just preserving it, but putting to work in ways that bring you joy, meaning, and fulfillment. And that's going to make your retirement that much more enjoyable.
Of course it will. And that's really good to understand. And you want to achieve that. You want to have a comfortable and happy retirement. But in order to do that, so you don't have to worry about finances, get that plan in place. And that's where you come in, Ashton. How can you and the team there at Pankinen Financial help our listeners? How can they get a hold of you? I know you're offering a no charge, no obligation consultation, correct?
Yeah. Again, Tony, we love to put these strategies in place for you so you can enjoy your retirement, whether that's sending you that monthly check, planning these fun expenses ahead of time, and give us a call at our office here, 952-873-2703. Again, that's 952-873-2703. We can help with that strategy, or visit us online at our website, pankininfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com. And again, we'd love to help people put together these plans and just make sure they're going to have an enjoyable retirement, no matter what size that nest egg is.
Yeah, and you work with so many people here in the community, and you've really helped a lot of people over the years, and you love hearing from our listeners out there. So I encourage them to pick up the phone, give you a call, and set up that no charge, no obligation consultation. Now, we've got more to talk about today. I mean, you've been telling us all about a lot of these strategic steps for retirees who are trying to balance out the instinct to preserve as many of their assets as possible with the equally important goal of truly enjoying retirement. And, I know you see people on both ends of the spectrum. They hit retirement day one and they start spending like mad. Yeah. And the others who are, 85 and barely touched it and just are so worried when they don't need to be, and they didn't need to live like that. I really think that it's important to have a good balance. And I know you've helped so many people with this. What do you have lined up for us next?
Yeah, and before we go on to what's next, I just want to touch on what you just said there. I again had a call this week on both ends of the spectrum with some clients. I'm like, hey, I know we talked about here's our spending goals. We've been kind of outside those a little bit, and we may need to pull back the reins. And then, I've had some where I'm like, hey guys, what are we going to do with all this money? Again, you've worked so hard for it. Yeah. Let's find it some purpose, whether it's passing along to the kids, grandkids, maybe crossing off some of those bucket list items as well. And so, again, we have all kinds here, and it's important to have a strategy put in place and someone, some financial professional to help you with those strategies.
You have to have a plan, and it's timing related, like how much you're going to spend those first, 4 years of retirement when you're in your go mode, and your slow go and no go. You have to space it out. You don't want to spend it all your first few years, but again, you also want to. That's when you're going to have the energy to do things. So you might want to spend more those first 3 years than you do your last, 3 to 6 years. So
exactly. Right? And so, again, as we were talking, one of the biggest fears people have going into retirement is the possibility of outliving their money. And honestly, that fear can be paralyzing, especially if the market takes a dip. So to help ease with this anxiety, I like to use a simple visual. So think of retirement like climbing a mountain. You spend your working years saving, investing, and climbing steadily towards that summit. Well, eventually you reach the top and you've saved enough to retire. But then comes the part that people don't always think about. It's the descent. And that's that spending phase that we've been talking about. And while it can feel uncertain or even scary, it's just the next stage of the journey. So that's why I focus on education early. I want to walk through the numbers, show them the probability of success for their financial strategy, and help people get clearly on two things. How much are they comfortable drawing down, and how much do they want to leave behind? And whether that's to family, a cause they care about, or someone else entirely. And again, it's not always an easy conversation, Tony, but once we define those pieces, people feel a sense of relief. They know they're covered. They know they can confidently use the rest of their money to live the life that they've always pictured in retirement. So that strategy plays such a key role.
It does. It does. And, I tried to handle my own financial strategy on my own for a long time. But then shortly after I got to know you and co-hosting the show and learned about, what a financial advisor can do, I put an expert into my corner. And honestly, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. I mean, It avoids costly mistakes. It really helps.
Yep, for sure. Well, next up, Tony, let's talk about the importance of testing out different retirement scenarios. So again, we all talk about the market has its ups and downs, and a few tough months can really shake your confidence, especially in the early years of retirement. But fear shouldn't keep you from doing the things you want to do, traveling, enjoying those hobbies, living in retirement as you've dreamed about. And so, it helps to have a financial advisor stress test your plan. What happens if the market drops? What if it's just a little choppy? What if returns are lower than expected? And so running those what if scenarios ahead of time helps you see how the strategy works in those scenarios and can give you clarity. Because if your plan still works under those tougher conditions, you can keep spending with confidence, knowing that the risk is already built into the strategy that we have for you.
Yeah, and those are important questions that you need to have answered by an expert who's been through this. What happens if the market drops? What if it's just a little choppy? What if returns are lower than expected? All those what ifs are really important. But hope for the best, but plan for the worst, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. You've said it before, and that's a good philosophy for just about every fact of our lives, really.
Yep. Yeah. And another piece, again, we talked about, Tony, was that, feeling guilty about spending money during retirement.
Yeah.
And so one of those tools I recommend is called a permission budget. It's simple, really. If your dream is to travel more or help your adult children cut down with a payment, build it right into that retirement plan. And so that way we make it a line item, just like we would for your mortgage or groceries. And when we do that, Tony, you're giving yourself permission to spend intentionally, not impulsively.
Yeah.
And that's the key. This isn't reckless or risky. It's all part of the strategy. And so when you've already accounted for those meaningful goals, you don't have to second guess yourself. You don't have to agonize. You just follow the plan and enjoy the life you work so hard to make possible. And again, I hope when we sit down and meet, that helps ease those concerns for you.
Yeah. And as you said before, retirement is your reward for decades of hard work and financial discipline.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, it's something you've worked so hard for. I know it's hard to turn that switch on, and especially in those early years, which is kind of counterintuitive because, again, in those early years, you're probably going to be more active. And so we want to make sure those are probably your higher spending years as well. As you mentioned, we call those the go-go years. So again, the last piece of advice here is to remember that retirement is a journey, not a single phase or a fixed lifestyle. We're typically going to spend more in our early years of retirement. Those are called the go-go years. When you're full of energy, you're ready to travel, you're able to take on new hobbies, and you really enjoy that new freedom you've earned. And that's typically when most retirees spend the most money. And that's okay. That's what the money's there for. And again, we can illustrate that with our strategy. But then after those go-go years come the slow-go years, where activity naturally drops off. And eventually at the end of that is the no-go years. And again, with our age and our health, We tend not to travel as much in those later years. And so it's something where the spending drops a little bit in those later years. And so with a proper plan, it gives you that guilt-free spending in those earlier years when you have more activities you want to do in retirement.
Yeah, and that's really a good way to look at it. I'm glad you broke it down like that for us. And I think this discussion has been great. The number one fear you started with, I don't want to run out of money in retirement. Running out of money in retirement is the big fear, right? And people are always worried about spending. In fact,
where the heck did you get that kind of money?
From our retirement account.
That was supposed to be our reward for all the years of responsibility.
There you go. Right. And that's that one's more about spending out of your retirement account before you're retired, which you definitely don't want to do either. Right.
Yep. Correct.
Yeah. So that's why you work with a financial advisor to take the emotion out of it and let you know, hey, you really can't do this if you want to have a successful retirement, or yes, you can do this, or here are your choices.
Yeah.
You can do this, but you'll need to do this and this. And here's how it's going to affect your taxes 3 years from now. Here's how it's going to affect your healthcare costs. There are so many moving parts nowadays. I just can't fathom doing it alone, because every year these things changes with Medicare, changes with how the tax laws work for seniors. There's a lot of changes in that new bill that passed, and a lot of them good. But if you don't know how to take advantage of them or how they're going to affect other areas, you've got to incorporate them into your own personal plan. It's not just doing what your neighbor did, or a coworker, or your best friend, or your brother, or your mom and dad did. It's about your timeline and your situation. And that's where you come in, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And again, we mentioned everybody's situation is customized. And again, to somebody, 3 million sounds like a lot, but we still have that anxiety of, are we going to run out of money no matter how much we've saved, unless you have that strategy in place. And so again, listeners can visit my website, pankoninfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com, or call my office at 952-873-2703. And again, that's 952-873-2703 to discuss how we can answer your questions and address your concerns about retirement spending, your financial strategy, or any other parts of your retirement. It's our goal to help you prepare for the retirement you've worked so hard for.
Sounds great. And thank you so much, Ashton, for the show today. It was good. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of the Pankinen Financial Perspective with our host, Ashton Pankinen.
Thank you for joining us for Pankinen Financial Perspective. Don't head into retirement without a plan for both your finances and your health. For more information, contact Ashton Pankinen at Pankinen Financial Group at 952-873-2703 or visit pankininfinancialgroup.com. Join us again soon for another episode of Pankinen Financial Perspective. Advisory services are offered by Ashton Pankinen LLC DBA Pankinen Financial Group, an investment advisor in the state of Minnesota.
All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.